Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode. So today we have our first patient story with Kelsey Kaminky, and she was actually one of the first people to send me an email with their story. And my goodness, it was quite a story. I actually narrated on our channel, and I thought it would be best that you guys get to hear it from her herself. So everybody, welcome Kelsey Kaminky.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share a little bit more about all the things that happened, and thank you so much for sharing all of these stories. I love
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. With our mission is to focus on the affordability problem that is here in America regarding healthcare, and to get the attention of everybody. I think this is a great way for us to kind of force our way into the doors of the people that can take my ideas and let me work them. But for
Mhm.
now, we have a lot of work to do, and people like you is exactly the voice we want to amplify here, so we can show the people that we are looking to get in touch with, the what's happening on the ground floor, what's happening at the lowest level possible, so that, like I said, we
Mhm.
can bring some change. So
Yeah.
why don't you share kind of, well, first of all, you're very young. You're very young, and your story that you shared is you were jumping through a bunch of hoops. So maybe you can just start by maybe introducing yourself, where you're from, what you do, and then we can dive into the more meat and potatoes.
Okay, perfect. Yes, and you said my name right. Most people don't. My name is Kelsey Kaminky. I live just outside of Denver, Colorado. I've lived here my whole life, grown up here, and I love it. I have two little boys. Single mom, I have a 5 year old and a 9 year old, so they keep me pretty busy most of the time. But we live a pretty active lifestyle here in Colorado. Lots of skiing, lots to do outside. So we love to do that. Um, Fortunately for me, I have been able to work remote. And so I've worked remote pretty much since my kids were born. So I've been home with them forever. I do work full time, and I'm the director of people operations for a tech company. I've worked in tech for a long time. And so, it's a fun job. It's really fast paced and it can be stressful, but I'm super, super thankful that I had the opportunity to work remote through all of this stuff, through all of the health issues, and got to be with my kids more. And honestly, I cannot even imagine working in an office being as sick as I was, because I wouldn't have a job probably. And it got close, right? Where I almost did not have a job. But luckily, I had a great employer, still do now. But yeah, so it's a little bit about me. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I know we'll get into all of that. I was only 32. Yeah, now I'm 35. My hair has grown back mostly, so I'm starting to get some hair again. I used to have really beautiful long hair. Um, so yeah, I was diagnosed at 32 years old. Cancer does not run in my family. A lot of what I experienced, I've never experienced anything like it prior to this. So I was always a really healthy person. I ate pretty well, exercised, I'm pretty active, and I was completely shocked by all of the things that transpired over the last few years. So yeah.
No, I can imagine, and you look great. You look healthy. My aunt actually had the same thing. She went through breast cancer twice, but the second time around, it ended up spreading all across her body, and she unfortunately is no longer here with us today. So that's part of the reason I got into the space to do what I'm doing. My mother also had a heart attack when in 2018, 2019, and it was one of the scariest things that ever happened in my life. I remember rushing to the hospital to spend the night with her because I wasn't sure if I'd ever get to, see her again. So
Yeah.
God bless you and your family. I'm so happy your kids get to continue with the a healthy Kelsey. And
Yeah.
so when you first told me, you told me that your story was actually published with the Washington Post. So how did they
Mhm.
kind of get a hold of it, or did you reach out to them, or?
No, I did not. I never reached out. I actually didn't reach out to anybody. And I think so. obviously, like I mentioned, I'm a single mom, right? And so it's like a one income household. If I can't work, what are we going to do? Um, and so I was, of course, really stressed about trying to maintain my finances and just keeping up our lifestyle and paying bills while I'm also dying, and have two little boys to raise as well as try to take care of myself. So, a friend of mine, she was actually my neighbor, and we are also really good friends. She started a GoFundMe for me and my kids. And the GoFundMe ended up getting like a
Mm.
ton of traction. And I think it first got a lot of attention on LinkedIn. I have a pretty decent LinkedIn network. Nate Randall, he's the CEO of Gab. So, or he was, he actually, I think, just went to Greenix. Um, he actually picked up the GoFundMe, and he called me and he said, "Hey, I saw the GoFundMe." And keep in mind, he's a CEO, like of a very large company, and he's just such a good human. He was also raised by a single mom, and she unfortunately passed away when he was young. And so a lot of what he does on LinkedIn and with his business is supports single parents. He supports parents who are going through illness, that kind of thing. And someone, I think, had tagged him in one of my posts of the GoFundMe. And he said, "Let me help you. I'm happy to leverage some of my network to get this going so that you can take care of your boys and not have to stress about
Mm.
how you're going to eat dinner and how are you going to pay the bills, how are you going to keep the lights on." He just really wanted me to focus on my health and my kids. And thank God, because I think if it weren't for him reaching out, we would not be where we are now. And I don't know what would have happened. So the GoFundMe, once it started getting some traction, I think a person that was inside worked for GoFundMe, knew someone at the Washington Post or something like that, and word got out to the Washington Post, whoever it was. And they had some people reach out to us and asked if they could do an interview. They were doing an article about the rise in specifically breast cancer within that year or prior year. And there was, I think it was something like a 300% increase in breast cancer in women under 40. I was obviously under 40, doesn't run in my family. So, yeah, so they asked to interview me. We did that. And then, of course, that kind of spread everywhere. And we did an interview with a few other just local news stations too. My boys loved that. So that was cool for them. But yeah, it was pretty interesting for sure that they got a hold of it. So it's all over now.
So let's go through this. So I believe you the first set of problems that you occurred is when you went through your first OB-GYN to examine
Mhm.
it. Can you walk us through
Mhm.
that when it was first happening?
Yeah, it was super crazy. So actually, let me start with how I found it because I would have never known. You think like breast cancer, like you'd feel a lump in your boob or whatever. Not the case at all. I never saw a lump or anything like that. I was kind of just messing around with a friend in the kitchen, and she like, flicked me in the chest. She happened to get like the front of my boob a little bit. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, like Kelsey, I felt something in there. Like it felt like a misshapen marble or like a rock or something." And I was like, "No, you didn't,
Mm.
whatever." Yeah, it was crazy. And then she just wouldn't drop it, wouldn't let it go. Like she's like, "You need to go to the doctor." And so I was like, "Fine, I'll go to the doctor. It's probably nothing." Totally thought it was nothing. I go to my OB, and I'm like, "Hey, my friend feels this thing," but you had to actually like push into the boob to feel it. Like you didn't see it, and even then, it felt just kind of like a rock or something, or like a marble. It was weird. Um, and she does a breast exam. She uses her hands, does the thing, and she's like, "Oh, no, it's a fibroid. It's probably nothing. It's fine. And plus, you're low risk. It doesn't run in your family. I'm positive it's not cancer. Like, I'm sure it's fine." And I was at this point like, "Lady, how do your hands tell you what it is?"
Hmm.
It could be the same as this is like, you don't know what it is. So I was like, you need to order me a mammogram, please. And she was like, no, well, insurance won't cover a mammogram because you're not 40 and you have no family history, you're low risk. And I said, I didn't ask you for financial advice. I asked you to be my healthcare provider. You're supposed to care for my health, so do it. And I had to show my teeth a little bit, I think, more than I normally would just to get a mammogram ordered. So finally, she does order the mammogram. She did not put a stat order on it. So I waited 3 months to just get in for that's how long the wait is. Finally, I get in there. And right away, they're like, yep, that looks like cancer. They did an ultrasound right after, and then they biopsied it all in one. And they confirmed it was breast cancer. So that's kind of how we found it. But, I think had I not pushed more on my doctor, I would probably be dead by now, which is crazy to think about. But
Mm.
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
on our channel too, I post about the misdiagnosed stories, and really patients really do need to advocate for themselves. I mean, you obviously had this gut feeling, I'm guessing, or you just knew something was off.
Yeah, what was really weird was before, I was kind of thinking like, oh, it's probably nothing. But just before I got diagnosed with cancer, just before I had actually like found anything in there, I kept getting a feeling of, I feel like I'm gonna die. Like, am I gonna die? And I never ever have ever felt that way. And I don't know if it was like my body just recognizing that there was something in there. I don't know. And I couldn't decide. I was like, it feels like am I gonna get in a car accident? Like it's just I had this like weird anxiety that I never have. And then, I go to the doctor thinking that that was not definitely not gonna be it. And it was. So I don't know. I just feel like sometimes doctors will push you off a little bit because it's easy for them. It's less paperwork. Maybe insurance will cover it. Then maybe they're not going to make a ton of money on it. So sometimes you have to be a little bit more aggressive, which is okay.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's necessary. It's necessary if it's your life, and we want if you have a family, you have to stick around. You have to
Yeah.
be here. Um,
Hmm.
so not only so can you walk us through the treatment, or did you just go through surgery, or how soon were you?
Yeah. So let's see. I got the mammogram, biopsy, all of that. And I think it was like 1 or 2 weeks right after. I mean, it was pretty quick after they got the result of what kind of cancer it was. Um, which I think they said there were two different kinds of breast cancer. So there was like invasive ductal carcinoma and invasive lobular carcinoma, which is a little more aggressive and harder to treat. And so they were like, you know what, we need to get moving on some of this. We need to also make sure it hasn't spread anywhere else, all of that stuff. So right away, went in for a double mastectomy. So they did a double mastectomy. The cancer was only on the left side, but I opted for double, obviously, just to be as preventative as possible in case there were any other cancer cells anywhere in there that just we might have missed or couldn't see yet or whatever. So I just did double mastectomy. That was a rough surgery. I think it was like 8 to 10 hours or
Mm.
something. Stayed in the hospital for a while. It was very, very hard, very rough surgery to recover from. You don't realize how much you use your, pec muscles or your arms. So I did that. I opted for reconstruction, which they did not do, in the same surgery. So I had to come back. So when you get reconstruction after mastectomy, they actually put expanders. They're almost like little Tupperware under your chest muscles. It's the most painful thing of my life. I'll never forget. And you go in to your plastic surgeon or your breast surgeon, every week or whatever it is, and there's a little magnet. They fill up your expanders under your chest muscles to expand the space where they're going to put, the reconstruction, the implants. So I did that for a few weeks, went in for the reconstruction surgery. I did get implants and, they do all that stuff, sewed it up, seemed okay. It was just, a lot of surgery to go through. And right after the mastectomy, I think that's when I started chemo. Is I think I actually did chemo before I had that reconstruction. I think they did that after I finished. Um, so yeah, after the mastectomy, I did chemo for a few months. And that was super rough. Lost all my hair, which is why I'm happy to have some now. And it did not go well for me. I know chemo is different for everybody, but my chemo, I don't know if it's just my weak little body or what the deal was, but I got neutropenia, I think 3 times, and I had 0 white blood cells. So I had to go to the hospital and stay after every treatment because I was so sick. Um, it just honestly feels like you have the flu times 100.
Mm.
So yeah, did chemo. It was super, super rough. Then got that reconstruction. Following that surgery, I also ended up having to get a full hysterectomy because it's so crazy to me, but they had me on tamoxifen, which blocks your estrogen receptors for breast cancer because my cancer was estrogen positive. So that means it would feed and grow the cancer. So I was taking tamoxifen, and turns out nobody told me this. Tamoxifen can cause uterine cancer. So they're giving you a drug to prevent one cancer, knowing that it also causes a different cancer. So all of a sudden, I started having some issues, some bleeding, stuff that you wouldn't have when you're going through cancer and chemo. They put you into menopause, basically. And I go to the doctor, and he's like, yeah, it looks like you're getting like pre-cancerous uterus and whatever. So we're going to do a full hysterectomy as well. Great. So I had to do that. I did that surgery. And that was, most of the big stuff right off the bat. That was all within a year, I think. And then I was doing pretty good. I was done with chemo. I had done most of my surgeries, and I felt like, oh, thank God it's over. Like I'm starting to recover, and maybe I'll feel better soon. And I was starting to feel better, but then started getting headaches, like kind of out of nowhere. I started getting a lot of headaches, and I was still feeling really lethargic and just tired more than usual. And I thought, well, maybe it's just from all the stuff. My body's been through a lot, blah, blah, blah. Until one day, I got a headache that was so bad. I mean, it was like a headache that you think that if it continues, you're going to die. So I went to the emergency room and I said, hey, like I have this terrible headache, like it's the worst headache I've ever had. I can't open my eyes in the light. I can't drive.
Mm.
I was crying, and I never cry. I'm not a crier. They're like, oh, like okay, we'll take a look. We'll give you this headache cocktail, which is pretty standard, whatever, in an IV to help your headache go away. Kind of helped, but like not really. And I kept telling them, like, no, it's not working. They didn't really care to dig much further than that. They didn't do anything else really. They were like, well, it could be this, it could be that. It's probably just a headache. So then they sent me home. That was the first day. Second day, the headache comes back and it is raging. It's just as
Mm.
bad. So I go back to that same emergency room and I tell them, like, hey, I was just here yesterday. My headache is even worse. It's not going away. It's bad. Like I can't do anything. And they were actually almost like laughing, like the nurses and stuff were kind of just hanging out in the hallway, laughing, like, social hour while I'm over here dying, just asking even like for an Advil, and they never brought it, I don't think. So I waited in the emergency room again. I think maybe they did, I don't know, some kind of scan. I don't know if it was a CT or MRI. I can't remember what it was. They did do something. But still, they were like, well, yeah, it could be a few other things, but like based on this one scan we did, like it's probably fine. Like you're fine. And now it's day 3. And I'm like, holy shit, actually, I'm going to die though. Actually, if someone doesn't help me, I am going to die today. And I was freaking out. I go back the 3rd day, same hospital, and I tell them, like, fucking figure it out. Like, what are we doing? Like, something is wrong and you're not helping me. So they kind of just do the same shit, brush it off, like, oh, it's fine. We'll just give you another headache cocktail and see if that works the 3rd time. And it hadn't worked the other 2 times. So they're not listening to me. They're not going to do anything. I leave there and my headache is so bad at this point that I almost just can't even drive to make it anywhere else. But I made it to a little like standalone emergency room, like not even a real hospital. Like I literally drove to whatever was the closest to where I was, which was a little standalone ER, like the ones you can just drop into or whatever. And as soon as I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, I need help like right now. That doctor sees me and he's like, you can't even open your eyes in the light. He's assessing the situation. He's like, I think you have meningitis, is what I think you have. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what you have. And I'm like, I don't know. So he calls an ambulance, and I take the ambulance all the way down to our big, huge hospital, Anschutz, or University of Colorado Hospital down in Aurora. And I was immediately, what they did was a spinal tap to see if it's meningitis, which the other hospital never did, never asked to do, never made an effort to do, nothing. After I had even told them I thought it could be meningitis, and they were like, oh, nobody gets that. That's super rare. You don't have that. Like, nobody ever has that. So first thing the other hospital does is the spinal tap, and then right away they found white blood cells in there, and they could confirm it was meningitis. They're like, you're going to have to be admitted. You're going to have to stay here. I stayed for a little over a week or so. And during that time, I got like this, they still never could figure out what it was. It's like some meningitis rash that it had started on the breast that I had just had reconstructed. I had also told that first hospital the same thing. When I said I had the headache, I had shared with them, I said, it started when I got this rash on my boobs. And then I got a killer headache right after. But they had told me it was, oh, it's unrelated. We're not even going to look at that because it's not related. That's what they said. The second hospital said, no, it probably is related, you know? And anyways, so I got this rash and it got spread all throughout my body, but it did start where the
Mm.
implants were. And I had gotten that rash a couple times before the headache had occurred. And you could actually see like my implants were real rippled, and like you could tell one of them just wasn't right. And I kept telling the doctors way prior to all this, like, I don't think it looks right, and it kind of hurts, and it kind of seems like it moves around, and like, I'm pretty sure it's ripped. And they were like, no, it's not. It's definitely not. And even if we do a scan, we can't really see if it's ripped. That you're gonna have to make another special $5,000 appointment for that. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, well. So, anyways, I'm in the hospital for the meningitis. I then get a brain infection, and it's really bad. And that rash spread everywhere so bad it swelled my eyes shut, and I couldn't see anymore. I lost my vision. I lost my hearing. It can be permanent if the antibiotics and stuff don't work. Luckily, mine was not. It did come back, but I couldn't see, couldn't hear. And I did IV antibiotics the whole time I was in there. They had breast surgeons come in and first thing look at my breast that's where it had started. And they were like, yeah, we definitely think that this may be caused from these implants. We can't say for sure, right? But we think there's a pretty strong chance. And they were debating on if they could take them out while I was in there. Ultimately, they decided it was too dangerous because if they couldn't, for sure confirm that that's what it was, then they cut you open and this infection spreads out of control, then you die. So they waited to see if those antibiotics would work after a while. Eventually they did. So as soon as I left, they were like, okay, you need to go see a doctor about these implants. There's probably something wrong with those, or maybe your body's rejecting it or whatever. And I had been telling doctors that pretty much the whole time I had implants. I told my PCP, told the breast surgeon, my oncologist. I told all these people, but every single time people would just dismiss, like, oh, the implants are the new ones. They don't break. They're brand new. Well, it's really rare, whatever. And I'd only had these things in for a year. So anyways, the other issue was insurance wouldn't cover the implants being taken out unless I could prove the medical reason behind it, right? Like, but it's hard to prove if we don't know for sure that a lot of this was caused from the implants. But my health issues were pretty serious and pretty frequent and recurring the whole time I had those implants in. So the meningitis, I would get brain infections, vision problems. I was super tired, and just not well. I just felt very unwell. Um, and then eventually, I was able to get insurance to cover the implant removal. So they went ahead and took them out. And what do you know? Right when they took them out, the doctor said, I have never seen this, but one of your implants was split completely down the middle into two pieces. So no wonder, I was getting all these issues, brain infections, blood infections,
Oh,
whatever it was, so much. So yeah, he took those out, and then it was like, oh, maybe a week after he had taken those out. It was the day before my post-op appointment, for that surgery. I'm like calling his office and I'm like, oh my God, like I feel super sick, like I have the flu, and I'm a little bit worried. Like, could it be an infection, or like, is this normal? And they're like, no, 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 no. It's just probably you just let your pain get out of control. Like, we're gonna send in more pain medication. You can go pick it up. So I do that, go get the pain medication, and I call back after taking it. I'm like, no, it's definitely not pain because I took the pain meds and I feel worse. So they're like, yeah, well, I mean, we have nobody available, and you'll be fine. You have a post up tomorrow. You don't really need to go in. It's standard stuff to feel like that, like body aches. And I was like, okay. Well, that night, a few hours later, my kids are in bed and I'm just at this point straight suffering. And I have to wake up my kids, get them out of bed to go to the emergency room with us, or with me. Um, and we get there, and the first hospital is like, literally, he didn't do anything. He wouldn't do a CT scan. He refused to give me any care. In fact, him and the nurses were laughing, like thinking that I was like fine, and it wasn't fine. And I keep in mind, I had like an open wound across my whole chest with staples in it still from a week prior. And he wouldn't even look at it. He was like, nah. You know what he said to me? He said, I think you probably just picked up COVID, like from the surgery center or something. Like, it's probably just COVID. And they were like, yeah, we're not even going to give you really anything because we think it's fine. Nothing. Didn't even check for infection, nothing. So I'm like, F this. And I literally got up and I was like, we got to go somewhere else because this is crazy. And we go to the other hospital right down the road. First thing, we walk in, that doctor is doing the whole workup. Yeah, let me do some blood work. Let me do this. Let's look at your heart rate. I had tachycardia, which is like number one sign. Well, one of the main signs of like pre-sepsis, or when you have infection or something like that. And he's like, your heart is a little crazy. And so, like, let's do more blood work. And then he's like, we're going to do a CT. Does the blood work in the CT. And in the CT, my whole chest on one side was just full of infection. And
mm.
that it was actually sepsis that I had. So everybody else, like, oh, you're fine. It's probably just you picked up COVID at the surgery center. Cool. Yeah, with an open wound across my chest. Good
Oh,
idea. No. So yeah, so then I had sepsis. Then I had to have another surgery to scrub out all that infection. They re-sewed it all up, stayed in the hospital again. And good thing I went in that time because again, I would have died had I not. And it's just crazy to think about so many instances that like one person has gone in and repeatedly not gotten good care, but it happens to a lot of people. I think people are
it does.
just too scared to speak up for themselves, and then they end up dying or they end up sicker or whatever. So I'm not afraid to advocate for myself or for my kids, and I will, and everybody should. So that's why.
These, yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, when I've read this the first time, I just couldn't even believe it because there's just one thing after the other. And then it's crazy how they all stem from each other too. So,
Right. Yeah, they just kind of like compiled. It's like once you get one, it just kept going. It was like a domino effect. It was not a fun time at all.
so how
So,
long would you say this from start to finish would you say this took you?
like the whole thing, like
Yeah, like
from
was this because you said the originally it was about 1 year that you were finished kind of doing the chemo and the therapy. and then
Mhm.
this stuff started
Yeah.
catching up to you. So is this reaching into
Yep.
like 2 years, or at the end was it quicker?
Let's see. So let's see, got my reconstruction. And then, yeah, I was like, it was probably about a year later because I had the implants in for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which
Okay.
those are still new, like new implants, they should be fine. So it's about a year from from when I had, finished all the cancer stuff, so I'd had those implants in for 1 year. Then I got them out, right around that 1 year mark. So it was a lot. And that was in April actually of 2025 that I got them out and had that sepsis stuff.
How are your kids handling all of this? Do you
Well,
even remember
I mean, I think that obviously it's hard on them because they don't know
what's going
exactly
on?
what's going on. They don't know, my older one, he's getting old enough now to kind of understand a little bit more. The little one, he still kind of doesn't know what's going on. I honestly think it was such a good thing in some ways that they were so little when all this kind of transpired because they didn't really understand. And that was kind of a benefit, in my opinion. And, I think the older ones sometimes, if he thinks I even have like a cold or if I'm like, I have to go to the doctor, he's like, are you okay? But are you going to be okay? Like, is everything okay, mom? Are you good? I think he's a little bit more worried than probably your average bird would be
Mm-hmm.
because of all the stuff he's seen and, um, that kind of stuff. Also, kids are little, and when I was going through like the cancer stuff, I think he was in kindergarten, and kids at school hear cancer and they immediately associate it with, oh, someone died. Like, oh, my aunt had cancer, she died. You know what I mean? And then he hears that, and I think that was really hard on him. And so I think he probably struggles with it slightly more than the little guy. But I think they both worry about it for sure. And it was sad
Were
for them.
were you out of work the entire time as well for that whole year, I guess? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, so part of the reason the GoFundMe had started was because so I did have to go on leave multiple times, right? But then I exhausted all of my medical leave at work and I had exhausted my FMLA. Um, and luckily I had a great employer who worked with me and was very flexible through this whole thing, but it definitely impacted my work. It I wasn't sure, honestly, if I would have a job or not, because I'd exhausted all of my job protected leave. I'd exhausted all my leave benefits and payments. So I was on leave and then I would work, right, like in between as much as I could to make up for the lost time. And I also just didn't want to lose my job. And if you lose your job, you lose your health insurance. So I really couldn't afford to do that. So I would work. I even worked during chemo. So I did not take leave to do chemo. I worked through that. It was rough, but I would
Wow.
take my computer
That's
and
impressive.
work. Yeah, it sucked. And I would work through chemo and all of that. And then the hard part was that once I exhausted most of my medical leave, I was only getting 60% of my wages. So that couldn't pay our bills, right? 60% of my income just wasn't going to cut it. And so that's part of the reason that GoFundMe was super helpful. And not only that, my littlest son, this is something people don't think about when young people have cancer because it's a lot different than an older person who, like, their children are grown up, they don't have all this other shit to worry about. I had to worry about daycare, picking them up from school, giving them baths, taking care of them, meals, like just all that stuff on top of trying to just live and take care of myself. But the little guy, I was just too sick to like really truly care for him all day long. I could barely get off the couch. And so I had to pay for daycare just to help me get through this. So I either would pay for a nanny. We did have a nanny that would come help. And then I put him into daycare. And that was a huge, huge cost. And that GoFundMe, a lot of that helped us with childcare and just so that I could sleep or just so I could recover. It's like people don't realize when you're young and you have kids and no one plans for that,
Yeah.
especially when I don't have a partner, I don't have a husband or someone who can take over some of the duties for me. Like I was a single mom going through cancer and I was like in the shit. Like it was so rough. Like, I mean, just trying to get up and cook dinner when you're dying like that is so hard. And you have two kids, and then you're trying to also bury it down deep so that you don't scare them and you just make it a happy time for them. But in the inside, they would go to bed and I would just like have 5 minutes to myself to go cry alone in my room.
Mm.
Oh, and it was hard, but yeah, that GoFundMe helped a lot with daycare. Obviously medical bills. My medical bills, they were insane, they are insane, and they're never gonna be fixed, probably. I'm just like in a lifetime of debt now.
Really?
Um, mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was with health insurance. And a lot of stuff is they don't tell you about it'll be out of network. And then it's like it's a whole full-time ass job to go fight with these insurance companies while I'm dying. You know what I mean? So I don't really want to sit and argue with somebody about my health, right? And all of these medical bills. So, yeah, our debt is insane from all of it. Even after the GoFundMe, we still just continuously just rack up medical bills, and it is what it is. At some point, it's just like, fuck it. There's not a whole lot we can do.
Oh,
So, yeah.
an
Yeah.
insane story. Absolutely insane story. Now, let's I mean, you look good. How's life ever been since then?
Well, since that last little hiccup we had last April, we've been doing good.
Wait, so that
Life
was
has,
that was a year ago, April?
mhm.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
it's
So you just got
April.
out of it.
Yeah, yeah. So it will be a year in April this year from the sepsis. And yeah, I feel honestly, since I got those out, I feel so much better. It's so weird. I couldn't lose weight either. So I kind of gained weight. Now I'm able to like I lost a little bit of weight
Hmm.
after I got them out. I'm not as tired. My body doesn't hurt as bad. I don't have like body aches like I used to. Feeling great. My hair is starting to grow like crazy. So I feel good, and my kids are a lot happier because I feel good enough to
Yeah.
actually do stuff with them, right? And like go play. So it's good. We're doing much better.
I'm so glad to hear that. And my mom, because she with her heart attack,
Mhm.
it was there were years after the initial heart attack that she was in and out of the doctor. And something had happened with the surgery from I think she got a pacemaker. And she would say
Yeah.
the same thing that you were saying, that she was just tired all the time, exhausted. She would walk 20 minutes and then just be exhausted after. And honestly, it was a little frustrating too, because I'm a young man. I'm like always constantly moving, always got energy. So I'm like, come on, mom, just toughen it
Just
up,
keep
toughen
up.
it up. Yeah,
No.
exactly. So, but I mean, I don't understand. Obviously, I didn't understand, but I can see now she's great. Now, ever since
Good.
she got that stuff figured out, she's great. So it's good to see, it's kind of similar with you.
Mhm.
The company that you were working at, is that the same company you're working at now?
Nope, different company that I was at back then. So I have switched since then. But it was good, and I'm thankful that I had a decent company. There are a lot of companies out there that just, if somebody gets sick, they'll cut them loose. I work at HR, so it's like I see
Hmm.
these things all the time, and
Okay.
it's a thing, sadly. And it's also, I think sharing the story, it's like a double-edged sword. Like I want to get it out, I want to share it with people. It's important and people should question their doctors. It's okay to do that. People think
Hmm.
like, oh, it's who cares if you offend them? Just ask. It's your body and it's your health. Just ask.
Hmm.
But there's that side of it. I want to get all of that out. The other side of it is, professionally, people know about this, right? That GoFundMe really got a lot of traction on LinkedIn. My story's public in the Washington Post. People can search my name and they'll find it, which is good and bad. Like in the workplace, I suppose it's like you wouldn't want to work for employers that are shitty like that and discriminate, but it happens. They do. People do discriminate if they find out that you have cancer, you've had cancer, you have any major health issue. they'll be like, no, we don't want them because they're going to miss work and they're going to cost us a lot of money on the
Hmm.
benefits side. And sick employees cost the company a lot of money. And
Hmm.
that's just what it is. It's terrible, but yeah. So I don't know. I put it out there and so far it's been good, but we'll see.
I mean, there's some interesting. I mean, we appreciate you for saying this, and truly, the cost problem. I mean, you can't ignore the cost, just like you can't ignore the cost, right? The cost of keeping the family good, the daycare, the food on the table. You can't ignore those costs, and at the same time, those are another family's income, right? So if those
Mhm.
costs are ignored, now they have to figure out the same thing. It's a downward spiral. The unaffordability problem, really. I can understand where the companies come from. I can understand where the insurance companies come from. I can understand where the patients are coming from. But there's deeper factors that are causing these problems, and that's exactly what we're off to try to fix. We've looked into these problems. I mean, I grew into these problems. I'm 20 years old. I'm thinking 40, 50, 60 years in advance for my family. If I have to put my mom into long-term care, right, these are very important factors that cannot be ignored because again, one man's spending is another man's income, and
Mhm.
everyone wants to live a life as they should. They deserve to, but you can't ignore the costs.
Yeah.
I digress. Before we wrap up here, do you have so I actually interesting stat. There's like 70% of my followers are actually women. Noticing this the statistics that I'm seeing from my analytics. Do you have any
Mhm.
advice for any women your age, younger than you, that could be in a similar situation or is going through a situation similar to you? Any advice or any words that you might be able to share to them as they continue to go through that or have it unfortunately come upon them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that especially women, and I find that statistic interesting because even I think when you look at medical statistics, women are often more mistreated, I think, than men. And I think the reason for that is honestly that men are, a little bit more masculine and can be more intimidating. And they're probably more likely to speak up for what they want and be direct, where women aren't always like that. Women are a little bit more emotional and, sometimes afraid to speak up. Not all women, but a
Mhm.
lot of them. And I think that because of that, sometimes, it's just things are brushed off or, whatever. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor, but this is just my theory. I would say to women that you should absolutely question your doctor. Now, it doesn't just because you have questions does not mean that you are confrontational. It doesn't mean you're difficult. And if your doctor tells you that you are when you're asking questions, you should find a new doctor, would be my advice. And if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable about maybe your PCP's opinion of whatever you've brought up, fuck it. Go get another opinion from somebody else. Go get a second opinion. It doesn't hurt. Who cares? I think it's just important for women to speak up. It's okay if you sometimes need to be slightly more aggressive, right, to get what you want. It doesn't matter.
Got
Like,
to.
it's
No, you got to do
no
it.
one look out for you more than you.
You,
No
yeah.
one look out for you or your kids more than you. So you have the best interest in mind and you should act on it. And I think about it on a daily basis about how had I not pushed on my OB-GYNs, had I not pushed back on her and said, no, order it. Like it's not really me asking anymore. I'm telling you to order it. Um, had I not kind of done that a little bit, I think it's just wild to think I would have been dead for probably almost 2 years now because I would have never known. I would have never known I had cancer. And by the time I would have known, it would have been too late. So I think it's just important. Don't be afraid. Who cares what your doctor thinks? Who cares what anybody thinks?
Hmm.
Fucking ask a question, and it's okay. And I do find it interesting that you have more women that follow your page. It's
I
kind of
know.
interesting.
I thought that was interesting too. And I'm like, it's kind of new, everything that's going on, and I can be a little brash in my approach. And having the women following me now, it's kind of making me reconsider, how I traditionally do things because well ultimately I just want to get the voice out because the problem that is unaffordability is so important to me and it would reach into other industries because your rent is going up the same rate, not at the same rate, medical expenses because those are going up at a crazier rate, but like 200% compared to I don't know what our rents have gone up, but still they're constantly going up. Your food costs are going up, your energy costs are going up, the costs across the board are going up. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what we're aiming on fixing. And I think the women care about this stuff a little bit more too, because honestly, I didn't really care until I was in the industry. Like women are just, as you mentioned, they are more emotional. Like these are heartfelt stories. These are very sad stories, some of them. Uh,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, and I think overall that women typically have more health issues than men. They do. And we have women's health, like we have a lot going on over here,
mhm.
that and we require a lot of care. And I mean men do too, but uh yeah, I mean it's just that's pretty interesting to me. But yeah, it's the expense is wild, I'll tell you that. I think I remember like one of my first medical bills from the mastectomy, they tried to bill me $68,000 for I can't remember what it was, if it was like just the a surgical assistant or they tried to claim it wasn't in network, blah blah blah. Here I am dying of cancer in my bed, but fighting with those insurance companies over the phone. Um, so that was fun. But anyways, so it's all a business. I mean, I won't go into that rabbit hole, but I could.
No, me too. Me too. And it's
Yeah.
important. I think it is important. My goal is because this health insurance and health care is such a big machine, and there's so many different parts to this. So like while there's parts that are broken on here, it could be causing the effect over here, right? So but we're only looking over here, so we're not understanding what's going on over here. So it kind of gives us an incomplete picture of therefore opinion on things. And I think it's important that we discuss those, all of them, every single part of it, so we can get a better understanding of this overall machine. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. On the patient side, we're trying to get professionals, their side of it, even insurance, either because I had a conversation with somebody here the other day that handles the claim side. And
Mm.
there's a process, a standard process for claims. And there's actually a lot of providers that they overdo it on their side. So they're kind of taking advantage of the insurance company, and the insurance companies need to put up, but the patient's affected, with all this crap. So big machine here. And
Yeah.
we're starting with the patients. We want to get your guys' voice heard because it's ultimately your dollar. It's ultimately your care. It's ultimately your family that builds their ability to do their work, to have, it's really you guys. You guys, the people, us are the ones that move this forward. And I'm so glad that you joined me today. I'm so glad you sent that email too. Like I said, the first time I read it, I was shocked because I was like, at first it was like the cancer story, but then it just kept on going. I'm like, oh my God, this poor lady.
I'm like, be so for real. There's no way that this has happened this many times.
Ugh.
But the couple times it's happened, it's been super serious. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, even anyways, I could go on, but yeah, it's crazy. And I've also watched some of your other patient stories, and it's wow, it's bad. It's so bad. Um, so I don't know. It's just like it's sad. I'm starting to lose faith in our medical system just altogether a little bit.
And that's the problem with my page too. Like, there's definitely some good people out there. My page doesn't focus on the good people, but the good
Mhm.
stories don't come out often. People are like, "Yes, I just had a great time at my doctor. Let me go share a 10-minute video on social media." They're just not going to do that. They're in and out. It was a good experience. That's it. Um, so you do unfortunately catch the bad side of it. But I also showed the socialized healthcare, healthcare outside of our the United States. And that's
Mhm.
much worse. In Canada, they're euthanizing their people. They are literally opting in to kill them rather than give them the care. I mean, do you see the
Yeah.
fraud that's going on in Minnesota and in
Yeah.
other parts of the state? You see that? I mean,
Mhm.
imagine that. I mean, they're subsidizing energy. They're subsidizing tech companies. They're subsidizing food. They're subsidizing and allocating to all these different places. How are they going to know or be able to provide solid check and balances when they're doing all this stuff? It's just that's my biggest fear is socialized healthcare for people like you and for people like my family. that they would have
Hmm.
just you wouldn't have even gotten you wouldn't have had an option to go to another hospital, right? The waiting lines would have been out the door. Like, so there's goods and negatives, but and that's why we're doing what we're doing. And I thank you for joining us because you're part of the mission now as well. Whether you
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be. Well, thanks for letting me share on your
Mm.
platform. And anyways, keep it going. Keep up the good work. And yeah, appreciate it. I'm excited to see what happens, what you've got.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I really do. And I mean, if there's anything that we can do on our channel too to help you out or get your name out there, get your work out there, whatever you need, just let me know. I'll happily use it too. I mean, that's what this is. It's really just for a centralized place for everybody. Obviously, I guess I'm the face of it, but amplifying your voice was really what got me started this because I need the bosses, my bosses, to know these are
Mhm.
the people that are opting into something like this. You should listen to them because they're the
Yeah,
ones that pay your salary. So,
that's true. It's very true.
is there anything else that you would like to share or anything else?
No, I don't think so. I'm curious to see some of the other stories that come about, but I just hope that we remain on the up and up over here on this
Hmm.
side.
No, it's happening.
And yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna keep doing that. And hopefully you like never get another bad story from me ever.
I hope so.
But
Hopefully, happy ones. Maybe we'll get some happy ones on my channel. I'll start looking
yeah,
for them actually. I'll start to see if I can find some good horror
yeah,
stories.
yeah, maybe throw in a good one here and there
Yeah,
because
no,
the
I
paper's
will.
looking awfully sad. You know, it's
Oh yeah,
scary.
it is, and I'll say too, because even I was like, I was getting upset. I'm getting sad. It's like, I mean, how could I not? I'm just listening to this heartbreaking stories all day. The consumption that I've been doing has been limited because I had a big break during the holiday break where I was like really exaggerating my effort to put the stories out. But I've had to come back to like regular life, holidays over, and it's more difficult to consume all day. So it's good because I'm feeling better, but let me tell you, it was difficult. It is, still is, honestly. I like some of the stories, I'm just like, "Ugh, I wish I could just skip it."
I know, I know. I feel the same when I watch some of those. I'm like, are you serious?
Oh, I know.
It's terrible, but you're doing the Lord's work over here. So you just keep it up. And
No, I
thank
appreciate
you for
that.
thanks for connecting with me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then, so I'll go ahead and end the call. Guys, please follow us along. Coverage with Brandon, our goal mission again to fix the unaffordability problem here in America. Thank you, Kelsey, again for joining us. Your story hopefully can move some other people and let others know. Well, one, maybe help them if they're going through something like this. And then two, uh, get the word out too, because everyone's affected by the unaffordability. So see you in the
Yeah.
next episode, everybody. Thanks, Kelsey.
Bye.